Okay, so the topic for today is discrete random variable. Understand what a discrete random variable is. Verbally, if I were to give you a definition, I'll just say that a discrete random variable is a type of random variable that can take on a countable number of distinct values. But obviously, this is just a bookish definition. ये बहुत ज़्यादा समझने वाली नहीं है. What you need to understand it is a variable. It's something that you need to understand it, and it is very common. It is a variable that can only take values in fixed steps. For example, if I ask you the number of students present in a class, obviously that is not a random variable, but that is a discrete variable. And that can be random if we make a scenario for it. So number of students present in a class, either 8 students can be present, 9, 10, 5, 6, 4, 3. I cannot get 1.5 students. I cannot get 1.8 students. सही है. Similarly, if I have variables that can take, for example, if I'm taking square numbers 1, 4, if I'm taking square numbers 1, 4, 9, 16, these are also discrete variables. I cannot have values anywhere in between these values. Yeah. So try to understand what a discrete variable is. It is a variable that can only take fixed values and no in between value can occur. Is this clear? Now let's take an example. For example, if I tell you that a coin is tossed 3 times, and I am asking you that I'm counting the number of heads that I get. What possible values can I get for the number of heads if I'm saying X is the number of heads that I get? So what possible values of X can I get? Yes, class, if I toss the coin 3 times, now it's entirely random. The event is entirely random. And I ask you that the number of heads that I get. How many? What are the possible values of X? Anyone? Yes, class.
सर रिपीट करेंगे क्या बोला आपने?
If I first you understood what do I mean by discrete random variable?
जी सर.
Now, if I toss the coin 3 times, bete, and I am saying that X is a variable where X is the number of heads that I get, what possible values can my X take?
सर तीनों टाइम आंसर है.
3 heads and
2 हेड फिर 1
2
हेड
heads and 1 head, or
और फिर हेड नहीं आएगा.
very
0.
good, 0. So X is my, can I say X is my discrete random variable? Can only take values 0, 1, 2, and 3, and no other value in between 0, 1, 2, and 3. And for such variables, one thing we can do is we can make a probability distribution table. इसमें कहते हैं हम x जो हमारी values ले रहा है and the probability when x takes those values. कौन कौन सी वैल्यू ले सकता है ये? इसको x भी लिख सकते हैं खाली. People said या तो head आई ना, that means 0 number of heads. Either I get 1 head, or I get 2 heads, or I get 3 heads. Is that the case? So yeah. So X is the number of heads that I get. The possible values of X is 0, 1, 2, or 3. And in order to understand the probability for the discrete random variable, we can make a probability distribution table. From this point onwards, the entire S1 becomes linear. The entire syllabus is linear. One thing is connected to the next thing. यहां तक बात क्लियर है बच्चों?
जी सर।
Now, in order to find those probabilities, we can make or visualize a tree diagram. Can we do that? Yes, class.
यस सर।
So we can either make a tree diagram or we can say either we get a head or a tail. What is the probability of getting a head?
1/2।
1 upon 2. And what about tail?
1/2।
1 upon 2. Then we can either get another head or a tail. Again, this we don't always have to make a tree diagram. This is something that we can just visualize as well. Probability of getting a head is again half, tail is again half. I'll not fill out the entire tree diagram, but I expect you people to make one to understand the entire completion of the table. Let me know when you're done making it the tree diagram.
सर सबकी प्रोबेबिलिटी बराबर 2 रहेगी।
Obviously, the probability is independent, the probability is not changing.
तो बस 3 हेड की बनानी है ना
Three
प्रोबेबिलिटी
coin
डायग्राम।
tosses, 3 coin tosses.
अच्छा 3
Yes, our focus in those coin tosses is counting the number of heads. Okay, whenever you have to fill a probability distribution table, I recommend you to start from extremes. पहले left or right most fill करो and then आहिस्ता आहिस्ता से start filling in the cells in between. So पहले तो zero number of heads. Why? Because those are easier ones. Which path shows me zero number of heads?
सर
Yes.
ये टेल 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 वाला।
Tail, tail, and tail. When I get 3 tails, that obviously will show zero number of heads. So how do I write it? Probability x is equals to 0. What is x? It is the number of heads. So you are telling me it is 1 over 2 into 1 over 2 into 1 over 2. Is that right? And what is that probability?
1/6।
1 over 8.
हाँ 1/8।
Calculators are allowed. Kindly do not make these silly errors, especially when calculators are allowed. अब 1 को भी fill कर लेंगे, don't worry. But what about 3? 3 heads. Which path should I follow for 3 heads?
हेड हेड हेड।
Just one path, head, head, and head. So how will I write it?
यस
Probability x is equals to 3. मतलब 3 heads आ जाए, half into half.
हाफ एंड हाफ।
So what is probability x equals to 3?
1/8।
1. Obviously these are easier ones. Now what about 1? हम एक head की probability निकाल रहे हैं. We can do it 2 ways. या तो हम पहले we look at all the possible paths on the tree diagram. कौन कौन से path हो सकते हैं with 1 head?
सर हेड टेल टेल।
Very good. Head, tail, and tail. This is one path. And
टेल टेल हेड।
tail, tail, and head. This is the other path. Any other path? With one
टेल
head,
हेड टेल।
with one head, three coin tosses and one head. Tail,
Head, tail.
head, and tail. These are three paths, right?
Yes, sir.
So one way of doing it is that हमने कहा okay, सब में 1/3 times 1/2 ही आ रहा है सब में, तो 1/2 to the power 3, and that is 3/8. Another way of finding the probability of one head and two tails is we can either take एक head, tail, and tail. Now, what are the possible orders with one head and two tail? HTT के कितने possible orders हो सकते हैं?
THT
How
or
how do I count?
TTH.
How do I count? We have already learned this in counting with permutations and combinations. HTT, if I were to arrange HTT, how many different orders can I get with HTT? If I were to count all the arrangements with HTT, how do I do that? Anyone? All possible arrangements of HTT. How do we count this?
HTT, TTH,
Do not list them
THT.
down. Do not list them down. I want you to tell me how to count it. You have learned a counting method for this. अभी तो तीन है, आसानी से कर
2C1.
लोगे. 3
Sir,
factorial upon
2C2.
2 factorial. Can't we do this, बच्चों? 3 factorial HTT, दो T identical है तो divide by 2 factorial. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
This again will give you P/8. So once you have found the three probabilities, can you tell me the sum of all probabilities? What should that be? Yes, बच्चों. What is the sum of all
Sir, 1.
probabilities? 1. So if you have figured out the probabilities for three possible values, can you tell me the remaining one? सबको add करो and you can subtract it from 1. So 1 minus 1/8.
3/8.
एक तो ये तरीका है, obviously. And obviously you can also find probability x equals to 2 as well. वो भी इसी तरह same ही आएगा. So what is the answer? 3/8.
3/8.
This is called a probability distribution table. And this is one way of filling it out. Obviously, you can use the possibility diagrams as well to fill out the probability distribution table or the tree diagram. You don't have to draw a tree. You can just visualize it or draw a rough tree to get to your values. Is this clear? Now let's understand one thing. If I ask you to calculate the mean, which is also called expectation in this case, how will you calculate the mean? Understand this. What if I tell you that I had 8 such coin tosses? Ideally, I had such 8 coin tosses. तो 8 coin tosses में से कितने 8 3 3 की बात कर रहा हूँ, 3 coin tosses का I had 8 such experiments. How many of them will have 0 heads? If I had 8 such experiments, how many of them will have 0 heads?
सर ये 1/8 मल्टीप्लाई बाई 8 कर देंगे.
वही पूछ रहा हूँ ना, 1/8. तो 1/8, what does it mean? 1 out of 8. Is that what it means? So if I have total 8
Yes.
readings, उसमें से 0 एक दफा आएगा. What about one head? One head, how often will I get one head?
3 times.
Yes, you are right. How often will I get 2 heads?
3.
And how often will I get 3 heads? Is that right?
जी सर.
And if I do this, this will give me the average number of heads. Is that right?
यस मैं टोटल में सम करके टोटल से करके डिवाइड कर
वही तो किया है. Should this give me that? Should this give me the average number of heads?
यस
And that average is called expectation, expected mean or mean. तीनों बातें इसको कह सकते हैं. This is how we write it. इसको expectation, expected mean और expectation, expected mean और mean कहते हैं. Because we are doing this with probability. Another way to do the entire same thing, जरा गौर से देखना. Can I do this? Upon 8 को मैं सबके साथ अलग अलग लिख लूं. Is that right or wrong? I'll take another extra steps to help you understand. This is very simple basic mathematics. Can I do this class? जो चारों चीजें प्लस हो रही हैं सबके साथ individually
Yes sir.
upon it. And similarly, because ये अब multiply हो रहा है, can I do this? Is this right?
Yes.
तो अगर मैं गौर से देखूं, so I'm just taking every value x and I'm multiplying it by its probability and I'm adding all the values.
समझ में नहीं आ रहा.
समझाता हूँ बेटा, डोंट वरी. ये बात समझ आई थी?
हाँ ये बात समझ में आ गई.
ये बात तो बेसिक मैथ्स की है, ग्रेड 7-8 की मैथ्स की है. इसके बाद तो upon 8 है, so can I just put upon 8 with each one of them individually because they are adding up. 0 into 1 upon 8 plus 1 into 3 upon 8. सबके साथ upon 8 अलग अलग लिख दें, all the things that are adding up.
सही वाला प्लान नहीं है.
And when they are multiplying, to 0 into 1 upon 8 plus 1 into 3 upon 8 plus 2 into 3 upon 8 plus 3 into 1 upon 8. So I'm taking every variable, every value of my variable and multiplying it by its own probability. 0 को उसकी probability से multiply किया, 1 को उसकी probability से, 2 को उसकी probability से, and 3 को उसकी probability से. And we added all the answers. Is that right? So
Right.
when we
वो भी
find
कह सकते हैं ना,
this,
fx निकालना भी कह सकते हैं ना.
नहीं, no. This is xp. This is how we are finding mean.
हाँ सही 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 सही.
If we take every variable value and multiply it by its probability and add all of them up, we can get our mean. इसमें अलग से फिर divide नहीं करना पड़ता because we are already considering the probability. उसमें total outcomes आ ही जाते हैं. So this is how we can find our mean. The formula will be provided in MF19. You don't have to understand the entire derivation. You only must know that we take every value of our variable and multiply it by its probability and we add all of them together. You must understand what this notation means. Similarly, variance can be found if you square every value, you multiply it by its probability, and you take its sum and you subtract the square of mean. This is exactly what we have been doing from the very first day. But over there in the initial chapters, we were dividing it by the number of values, and now instead we multiply it by its probability, which obviously yields us the same result. Is this clear? These formulae will be provided, so you don't have to worry about the formulae. You must understand what we are doing and how we are doing. Can we find the average for these number of heads? The expectation or the mean for these number of heads? For this particular experiment, can you find the mean? Once you calculate the expectation, you get 1.5, and the data also supports this. On average, we will get 1.5 heads because the distribution is symmetrical. What about variance?
सर वेरिएंस के लिए एक्सपेक्टेशन का डायरेक्ट स्क्वायर कर सकते हैं हम?
That is exactly what we will do. Expectation 1.5 आई, डायरेक्ट उसका स्क्वायर ही लिखेंगे. For variance, 0 square times 1/8 plus 1 square times 3/8 plus 2 square times 3/8 plus 3 square times 1/8 minus 1.5 का. What is your variance? Yes, बच्चों.
सर एक सेकंड बताओ.
The formula will be provided. Do not
एक
worry.
मिनट कैलकुलेटर में डाल दो.
Do not worry about the formula.
सर ये एक्सपेक्टेशन ये स्क्वायर करना है.
Obviously, expectation plus square. Yes, class.
सर 0.75.
Variance. Okay, now read the question. Comprehend the question before starting it. A fair cubical die with faces numbered 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 is thrown, and the score noted. The area A of the square of side equal to the score is calculated. They have given you an example for clarification as well. If when the score on the die is 3, the value of A is 9. Whatever your die lands on, you square that, and that is what you note down. Draw up a table to show the probability distribution of A. Yes, class. A is a discrete random variable. What values can A take? Yes, class. What values can my A take? If my die lands on
Sir,
1,
one,
अगर 1 पे land करता है तो my score A will be 1. What if the die lands on 2?
4,
4. And what if the die lands on 3?
16,
9. And what if the die lands on 4? Yes, class.
सर इसके अंदर हम ये स्क्वायर वाला स्कोर क्यों लेंगे जो जो
Read
हमारा
the
पहले से
question.
दिया हुआ है
Read the
1 2 3
question.
4.
Read the question.
हाँ सर, क्वेश्चन तो रीड किया है, लेकिन हम वो ऊपर वाला भी तो ले सकते हैं.
आप तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, उसको 0 ले लें सब जगह. करने पे तो there are endless possibilities, बेटे. But the question has created a certain scenario for you, and that is what you must comprehend. There are endless possibilities with any other experiment. But the question is doing it in a particular way, and that is what we must understand. जो भी डाइस पे लैंड कर रहा है हम उस नंबर को देख रहे हैं, वी आर स्क्वेयरिंग इट एंड वी आर नोटिंग इट डाउन. That is how the experiment is supposed to be conducted. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So these are the possible scores that we can get: 1, 4, 9 or 16. What is the probability that we'll get the score 1?
1/6.
1/6. Okay. Why?
3/6 sir.
3/6. Very good. And that is obviously equal to 1/2. यहाँ पे डायरेक्ट 1/2 ही लिखो टेबल में. What is the probability that we get the score 4? When will we get the score 4? When the die lands on
2.
2. Very good. And what is the probability of the die landing on 2?
1/6.
1/6. What is the probability that we get the score 9? When the die lands on 3?
1/6.
And that again is 1/6. And we can add all of them, or we directly know that this is what we get. Is this clear?
नहीं
Now,
सर समझ में नहीं आया.
okay, क्या नहीं समझ में आया? How do we calculate the expectation? 1 will multiply by 1/2 plus 4 will multiply by 1/6 plus 9 will multiply by 1/6 plus 16 will multiply by 1/6. And how will we calculate the variance? 1 ka square will, obviously that is still 1, but just letting you know, 4 ka square will multiply by 1/6. 9 ka square will multiply by 1/6. And 16 ka square will multiply by 1/6 minus whatever your expectation is. इसके squares को subtract कर दोगे, so you'll get your variance. Calculate करो दोनों बच्चों. What, tell me what do you get?